Doubt does not arrive like a storm. It does not come with thunder, nor does it declare itself loudly. Instead, it slips quietly into the mind, like a shadow that moves unnoticed across the floor when the sun shifts. Most people do not see it when it enters, and by the time they become aware, it has already taken a seat inside their thoughts. Doubt is not the enemy that confronts you face to face. It is the one that creeps behind you and speaks softly in a voice that sounds very similar to your own. When we face an obstacle in life, fear often appears first. Fear is visible. The body shakes, the heart races, and the breath shortens. We recognize fear immediately. But doubt is different. Doubt hides in silence. It does not quicken the heartbeat in the same way. Instead, it slows the steps you were about to take. It whispers questions. What if I fail? What if I am not ready? What if I am not good enough? These questions do not sound threatening, yet they weaken the spirit more effectively than fear ever could. Fear can sometimes ignite courage, for when fear is clear, we know we must either face it or run from it. Doubt gives no such clarity. Doubt makes you hesitate, and hesitation is the slow poison of action. Dreams are not usually destroyed in one moment of fear. They are destroyed through many small hesitations that pile up until the opportunity is gone. Doubt is patient, and that is why it is so dangerous. A strong person learns to recognize doubt early. They learn to hear the subtle voice that tells them they cannot, and they learn not to obey it. The difficulty lies in the fact that the voice of doubt often disguises itself as logic. It will tell you, be realistic. It will say, no is not the right time. It will suggest you must wait until you are more prepared. And so, you wait. You wait for months, for years, sometimes for a lifetime, and the dream you once carried burns out quietly like a flame deprived of air. To fight an enemy, you must first see it clearly. If doubt is a silent enemy, then the task is to sharpen your awareness until you can notice its presence the moment it arrives. Consider the way a monk observes his own breath. He does not need the breath to be loud in order to notice it. Even the quietest inhale and exhale is felt, observed, and acknowledged. In the same way, you must observe the thoughts that pass through your mind. Not every thought deserves your trust. Not every thought comes from your strength. Some thoughts are intruders. Doubt is one of them. Another reason doubt is so dangerous is because it uses your own knowledge against you. The more intelligent a person is, the more skilled doubt becomes. For the clever mind can create many reasons why something might not work. The clever mind builds arguments, explanations, and evidence that justify inaction. This is why strength is not only of the intellect, but also of the spirit. If the spirit is weak, the mind will use its cleverness to chain itself down. But if the spirit is strong, then the mind becomes a tool of creation rather than a tool of destruction. Doubt kills dreams long before reality ever has the chance to test them. Imagine a seed buried in the soil. Doubt is like the voice that tells the seed, the soil is too hard, the sun will be too strong, the rain will be too much, it is better not to grow. And so, the seed never breaks the surface. It never experiences sunlight, nor does it ever feel the wind. The potential that was inside the seed remains buried, not because the world was against it, but because doubt convinced it never to try. In the training halls of the Shaolin, discipline is taught not only to strengthen the body, but to strengthen the mind against doubt. When the body becomes tired, doubt enters quickly. It says, stop now, this is enough. But if you stop each time doubt appears, you never discover how far your strength can actually go. Only when you ignore the whisper of doubt and take one more step do you begin to see the truth of your own capacity. This lesson extends beyond the training hall. Life itself is a constant practice of taking one more step beyond the boundary where doubt tells you to stop. One of the most subtle aspects of doubt is that it often hides behind the opinions of others. It will not always speak in your own voice. Sometimes it speaks through the words you remember from someone else. A parent who once said, "That dream is unrealistic." A teacher who remarked, "You are not suited for this." A friend who laughed when you shared your idea. Their words remain inside you, and later, doubt repeats them back. You think it is your own voice, but in truth, it is an echo of someone else's limitations. If you are not careful, you carry their doubt as your own. The silence of doubt is what makes it effective. Loud enemies can be defeated. A warrior sees the attack and raises the shield. But what happens when the enemy moves without sound? What happens when the attack comes not from the outside, but from within? This is why strong individuals learn to cultivate inner awareness, patience, and discipline. To defeat doubt, one must first recognize its silence, for it is in the silence that it gains strength. When most people think of strength, they imagine something loud. A shout that silences a room, a fist that breaks through walls, a figure that dominates the space by force. But this understanding of strength is shallow. True strength does not need to declare itself. It does not need to raise its voice or crush what stands before it. True strength is like the mountain, unmoving, steady, and vast. The mountain does not speak, yet all who stand before it feel its power. Strength is not noise. Strength is presence. Noise is often a disguise for weakness. The person who shouts the loudest is usually trying to convince themselves of something. The one who constantly speaks of power may in truth be running from insecurity. When you are certain of who you are, there is no need to shout. There is no urgency to prove anything. Presence alone communicates what noise is trying to imitate. Presence does not demand attention, it draws it naturally. Consider the stillness of a calm lake at dawn. The surface is smooth, unbroken, reflecting the sky above. It makes no sound, yet anyone who sits beside it feels a sense of quiet strength. The lake does not compete, it does not try, it simply exists in its own form. In that presence lies more power than in all the noise of rushing rivers and crashing storms. This is the nature of strength that does not need to be loud. Noise fades quickly. A shout echoes for a moment, and then silence returns. The impression left behind is shallow, but presence lingers. Presence can be felt without words, without movement. It is the quiet confidence of a woman who enters a room without trying to be seen, yet everyone notices her. It is the steady hand of a leader who speaks few words, but when they do, every ear listens. It is the calm gaze of someone who has walked through difficulty and carries wisdom in their silence. Strength that is noisy seeks validation. It relies on others to confirm its power. But strength that is presence relies on nothing external. It arises from within, from the unshakable ground of self, knowledge, and discipline. Presence says, I am here. I am enough. I do not need to prove it. When a tree is deeply rooted, it does not fear the wind. It may sway, it may bend, but it does not uproot. The presence of the tree comes not from the noise of its leaves rustling in the air, but from the depth of its roots beneath the soil. A person's strength works in the same way. If your strength is shallow, like noise on the surface, the first strong wind will scatter you. But if your strength is rooted, like presence, no storm can remove you. There is a discipline in learning presence. It requires one to become comfortable with silence. Many cannot stand silence because in silence they are forced to confront themselves. They use noise to distract from their own doubts, their own fears. But when you sit in stillness, when you quiet the restless voice inside, you begin to find that strength which cannot be shaken. This is why meditation is not weakness. It is the training ground of presence. Presence is not passive. It is not simply standing still or doing nothing. Presence is active awareness. It is the mind that does not wander. It is the body that does not fidget. It is the spirit that does not chase validation. Presence requires attention, and attention is energy. To give full attention to the present moment is to become rooted in it. And that rootedness is a form of strength that no amount of noise can replicate. In daily life, many confuse aggression with strength. They think the louder voice wins the argument. The harsher tone commands respect. The bigger display demonstrates power. But true respect is not earned this way. True respect comes from consistency, from integrity, from the way presence is felt long after words are forgotten. The warrior who boasts of his skill may impress the crowd for a day. But the master who speaks little, who moves only when necessary, carries presence that will be remembered for a lifetime. Even in nature, presence outweighs noise. The sun does not shout as it rises. It does not announce itself, yet its presence transforms darkness into light. The earth does not demand attention as it spins, yet without it, nothing could live. The universe itself is silent, yet in its silence, it holds galaxies, stars, and countless worlds. If the greatest forces in existence carry strength in silence, then why do we humans believe that noise is necessary to prove power? Presence has another quality: it calms others. Noise creates disturbance. It agitates the mind and stirs emotions. Presence, on the other hand, settles the restless, steadies the anxious, and reassures the fearful. A strong presence can enter a chaotic environment and shift it without words, simply through the energy it carries. This is strength that heals, not strength that destroys. Those who cultivate presence become unshakable in their path. They no longer need to answer every insult with defense because their value is not tied to others' opinions. They do not need to chase recognition because their worth is not dependent on applause. Presence teaches detachment from the noise of the world, and in this detachment, true strength is found. To embody strength as presence is to live in alignment with something greater than yourself. It is to understand that force is temporary, but presence endures. Noise fades into silence, but presence becomes part of the silence itself. And in that silence, the deepest form of strength is revealed. Many people think of self-belief as a gift, something you either have or do not have. They believe it is like the weather, something that comes and goes according to chance, something outside of their control. On days when they feel confident, they believe they are blessed. On days when doubt takes over, they assume they are cursed. But this view is incomplete. Self-belief is not an accident. It is not a random visitor that may or may not come. Self-belief is a discipline. It must be cultivated, practiced, and maintained every single day. The difficulty lies in the fact that discipline is not exciting. Most people are drawn to motivation, to sudden bursts of inspiration. They enjoy the fairy speech, the song that stirs the spirit, the story that brings them to tears. These moments are powerful, but they are temporary. When the fire fades, when the music ends, what remains is discipline. Discipline is the steady rhythm beneath the noise. Self-belief is not built in a single moment of inspiration, but in the daily practice of showing up for yourself. Think of the body. A single workout cannot make you strong. A single healthy meal cannot transform your health. Strength and vitality are not the result of one powerful effort, but of repeated choices, repeated actions, repeated disciplines. The same is true for the mind. Believing in yourself once is not enough. You must practice it again and again until it becomes part of your nature. Self-belief must be exercised in the smallest of tasks. It is not only about believing you can achieve your greatest dream, it is also about believing you can complete the step in front of you. Each morning when you wake, there is a choice. Do I trust myself to begin this day with clarity, or do I let doubt shape my actions? Each evening when you sleep, there is a reflection. Did I keep faith with myself today, or did I abandon my own word? These small choices accumulate. Over time, they become the foundation of belief. Many underestimate the power of small victories. They think self-belief comes from achieving something extraordinary, from climbing the highest mountain or winning the hardest battle. But in truth, self-belief begins with the small promises you keep to yourself. When you say, I will wake early, and you do it, you are training your mind to trust yourself. When you say, I will complete this work, and you follow through, you are building evidence of your own reliability. Each time you honor your own word, belief grows stronger. Each time you break your own word, belief becomes weaker. This is why discipline is inseparable from self-belief. Without discipline, belief becomes wishful thinking, a fragile idea that breaks under pressure. With discipline, belief becomes anchored, supported by actions that prove its truth. Discipline says, I do not wait for confidence to appear, I create it by acting. There is a story of a young monk who doubted his strength. He asked his teacher, how can I believe in myself when I have not yet achieved anything great? The teacher gave him a simple task: carry water from the river to the temple each morning. At first, the task seemed small, unimportant, but each day he carried the water, and each day he fulfilled the task he had been given. After many months, he looked back and realized he had never missed a single day. In his consistency, he discovered his strength. The discipline of carrying water taught him that belief is not built on one great act, but on countless small acts repeated with sincerity. Self-belief is a discipline of attention. It is choosing where to direct your focus. The mind naturally looks for evidence of weakness. It remembers failures, replays mistakes, and magnifies shortcomings. If you allow the mind to wander freely, it will always find reasons to doubt. Discipline means guiding the mind toward a different focus. Each day, remind yourself of the steps you have taken, however small. Each day, remember the times you have risen after falling, the times you have continued when you wanted to stop. Self-belief grows when you discipline the mind to see not only what is lacking, but also what is present. Some think discipline is harsh, that it means being rigid, unkind to yourself, or punishing mistakes. But true discipline is not punishment. True discipline is devotion. It is the willingness to return to the practice again and again, even when you fall. Self-belief is not destroyed by failure. It is destroyed by abandoning yourself after failure. When you fail but return, when you fall but rise again, you demonstrate loyalty to yourself. That loyalty is the essence of belief. Every day presents opportunities to train this discipline. It does not require a temple or a special retreat. The practice is in the way you walk, the way you eat, the way you work, the way you speak to yourself. Each of these is a chance to affirm, I trust myself to do what I said I would do. Each time you affirm this, belief grows deeper. Over time, self-belief becomes less about what you achieve and more about who you are. It ceases to be dependent on external results. Whether you succeed or fail in the eyes of the world, your belief remains steady because it is anchored in daily discipline, not in external approval. This is how some people remain unshaken even in great loss. Their self-belief is not built on outcomes but on the consistency of their practice. The discipline of self-belief is quiet. It is not celebrated by others, for most will not see the small choices you make. They will not notice the moments when you keep your word to yourself. But in time, the presence of belief will reveal itself. Others will feel it, not because you speak loudly of it, but because it radiates from the steadiness of your being. Fear is a natural part of life. It is not an enemy in itself, nor is it something to be erased completely. Fear exists to protect, to warn, to signal that danger may be near. But while fear is natural, attachment to fear becomes a prison. To be attached to fear means to obey it, to allow it to dictate your choices, to let it determine the path of your life. Detachment from fear does not mean you never feel afraid. It means you no longer give fear the authority to command you. There is a difference between acknowledging fear and identifying with fear. When you acknowledge fear, you see it clearly, like noticing a cloud passing across the sky. It is there, it moves, it changes, but it does not define the sky. When you identify with fear, you take the cloud to be who you are. You live beneath it, and your world becomes small, limited to its shadow. Detachment begins with awareness. Fear is present, but fear is not me. In the Shaolin halls, fear is studied not as something to be avoided, but as something to be understood. When the body is pushed to exhaustion, fear arises: fear of pain, fear of breaking, fear of limits. But the student learns to observe the fear without immediately obeying it. In that observation lies power. For the body can continue long after fear tells you it cannot. The heart can endure much more than the mind first believes. To detach from fear is to separate the signal from the command. You listen to what fear says, but you do not immediately follow. Fear often disguises itself in many forms. Sometimes it appears as hesitation, sometimes as procrastination, sometimes as endless planning. The person says, I am just preparing, but underneath fear is whispering, I am not ready. The person says, I am waiting for the right time, but beneath, fear is murmuring, I am afraid of failure. Without detachment, you mistake these whispers for wisdom, when in truth they are chains. Detachment allows you to see the disguise clearly and act anyway. To detach from fear is not to become reckless. It is not to run into danger blindly, nor to pretend fear has no purpose. Detachment means balance. It means recognizing when fear is a real signal of danger and when fear is only the imagination projecting shadows. For many people, fear is rarely about real danger. It is about imagined outcomes: rejection, failure, humiliation, loss. The body is safe, but the mind convinces itself of harm. Detachment helps you see the difference. There is a simple practice. When fear arises, ask, is this fear protecting me from real harm, or is it preventing me from growth? Most often, you will find fear is protecting you not from danger, but from discomfort. And discomfort is not an enemy. Discomfort is the field where growth is born. If you obey fear every time discomfort appears, you will never reach beyond the small circle of the familiar. Detachment means stepping into discomfort even while fear speaks, knowing that on the other side lies expansion. Consider the bamboo in the storm. The strong winds bend it, and in that bending it seems fragile. But the bamboo does not break. It sways, it yields, and when the storm passes, it returns upright. Detachment from fear is like the bamboo. You do not need to resist fear with force. You do not need to destroy it. Instead, you allow it to arise, you feel it, you acknowledge it, and you continue to move. You bend with it, but you do not break under it. Fear feeds on attention. The more you focus on fear, the larger it grows. Like a shadow cast by a candle, the closer you bring your mind to it, the bigger and darker it appears. Detachment means shifting attention. It means not feeding the fear with constant thought. The fear may still exist, but when you do not pour your energy into it, it weakens. The discipline of meditation teaches this lesson. When a fearful thought arises, you do not fight it, you do not cling to it. You let it pass like a leaf floating downstream. In this way, you train the mind not to attach. Attachment to fear often comes from the desire for control. The mind fears what it cannot control, so it clings to the known, to the safe, to the predictable. But life cannot be controlled completely. To live is to step into uncertainty again and again. Detachment from fear is an acceptance of this truth. It is the willingness to walk into uncertainty without needing to know every outcome. The bird does not know where every current of wind will carry it, yet it spreads its wings and flies. One of the strongest illusions fear creates is permanence. When fear arises, it convinces you that it will last forever. It tells you, if you enter this challenge, the fear will never leave you. But all emotions are temporary. Fear rises and fear falls. To detach is to remember this truth. You allow fear to pass through you rather than building a home for it inside you. The wave may crash, but it will always recede. The strength of detachment lies in action. Fear says, do not move, but detachment allows you to step forward anyway. Each time you act in the presence of fear, you train the mind to loosen its grip. Action proves to yourself that fear does not own you. And with each step, the attachment grows weaker until fear becomes simply another visitor, noticed but not obeyed. Doubt grows strongest in stillness. It thrives in hesitation, in the moments when the body is frozen and the mind begins to wander in circles. When you stand still too long before a decision, doubt creeps in and begins to multiply. It whispers questions, it creates illusions, it paints pictures of failure. And the longer you wait, the louder it becomes. This is why action is the antidote to doubt. Action interrupts the cycle. It takes the energy that would have been wasted on endless questions and channels it into movement. Doubt lives in imagination. It feeds on the unknown. It takes every possibility and stretches it until it looks like certainty. What if I fail? What if they laugh at me? What if I lose everything? In the mind, these possibilities appear so vivid that they feel real. But the moment you take action, the unknown begins to transform into the known. The shadows dissolve when you step into them, and the monsters that seemed so large are often smaller than you imagined. Many people wait to act until they feel ready, until they feel certain. But certainty never arrives before action. Certainty is born through action. The child does not learn to walk by waiting until he is confident he will not fall. He learns to walk by standing, by falling, by rising again. Each action weakens doubt and strengthens trust. Without action, doubt remains the master. With action, doubt becomes a fleeting guest. Action does not need to be grand. Even the smallest step forward shifts the balance of power. Doubt thrives on stillness, but it weakens the moment movement begins. When you take one step, you have already changed the situation. One page written, one call made, one small task completed. Each of these actions is a thread that weakens the web of doubt. The mind begins to see evidence that progress is possible, and doubt loses its authority. In the discipline of training, doubt always appears at the edge of exhaustion. The body grows tired, and the mind begins to whisper, "You cannot continue." If you listen, you stop. But if you take just one more movement, one more breath, one more repetition, something shifts. The action of continuing proves to yourself that the mind was wrong. Each time you act beyond the voice of doubt, you carve a new path in the mind, a path of strength instead of weakness. The danger of doubt is that it seeks endless preparation. It convinces you that more knowledge is needed, more planning, more time. Preparation is useful, but without action it becomes another form of delay. Some people spend their entire lives preparing and never begin. Action breaks this cycle. Action is the moment where knowledge is tested, where preparation is transformed into reality. The sword must eventually leave its sheath, otherwise it rusts away unused. There is a rhythm between thought and action. Too much thought without action creates paralysis. Too much action without thought creates recklessness. But when doubt is heavy, it is not more thinking that is needed. It is movement. For thought feeds doubt, while action dissolves it. Each action becomes a stone laid on the path forward. Without those stones, the path remains only a dream. In meditation, One learns that thoughts lose their power when you do not cling to them. Doubt is a thought. If you attach to it, it grows. If you let it pass, it fades. But beyond meditation, in daily life, action serves as another form of detachment. It is the refusal to let doubt control your body. You may hear the voice of doubt in your mind, but your hands still move, your feet still walk, your voice still speaks. In this way, action becomes a discipline that trains the mind not to obey every thought it produces. There is an old teaching. Do not let the doubt of tomorrow steal the strength of today. Tomorrow exists only in thought. Doubt projects its fears into tomorrow, but action roots you in today. When you act, you are present. You are no longer trapped in the imagination of what may happen. You are grounded in what is happening, and from this ground, new strength emerges. Doubt is often strongest just before you begin. It gathers its power at the threshold in the moments before the first step is taken. Once you move, the power of doubt begins to break apart. This is why beginnings are so difficult. The weight feels heaviest before momentum has started. But once the first step is made, the second becomes easier, then the third, and doubt grows quieter with each one. Action builds momentum, and momentum carries you through places where doubt once ruled. There is also a deeper lesson: doubt cannot be eliminated by argument. You cannot think your way out of doubt completely, because doubt is part of thought itself. The more you argue with it, the more energy you give it. The antidote is not to win the argument, but to step beyond it. Action is stepping beyond. While the mind debates endlessly, the body moves, and in movement the debate loses relevance. Imagine a door before you. Behind the door lies the experience you desire, the life you wish to live. Doubt stands beside the door and tells you all the reasons not to open it. You can argue with doubt forever, or you can turn the handle and step through. Once the door is opened, the argument no longer matters. The action has carried you beyond the reach of hesitation. This is why strength is not measured by the absence of doubt, but by the willingness to act in spite of it. To move forward while the voice of doubt speaks is a discipline, and like all disciplines, it grows stronger the more it is practiced. Each time you act, the next action becomes easier. Each time you choose movement, doubt has less power over you. A dream is fragile in its beginning. When it first arises within the mind, it is like a seed, small, delicate, easily overlooked. The seed carries within it great potential, but without care it will not grow. A dream, like a seed, requires the right conditions to take root. And once it has taken root, it requires protection. For the world is full of forces that will test it, question it, and attempt to destroy it before it has the chance to bear fruit. This is why dreams require guardianship. Guardianship begins with understanding the value of the dream itself. Many people treat their dreams lightly, as if they are mere wishes that can be discarded if they prove difficult. But a true dream is more than a passing desire. It is a calling from within, a direction that aligns with your essence. To neglect such a dream is to neglect part of yourself. When you recognize its value, you understand why it must be guarded carefully. The danger is that dreams are most vulnerable in their early stages. At the moment they are spoken aloud, doubt from others often arrives quickly. Someone may say, "That is impossible," or "You are not capable," or "Be realistic." These words may seem small, but to an unprotected dream they are like frost upon a tender plant. Without guardianship, the dream may wither before it even begins. To guard a dream is to shield it from the careless opinions of others. Not every thought deserves your attention, and not every voice deserves entry into the sanctuary where your dream is being cultivated. Guardianship also means discipline. A dream is not kept alive by wishing for it. It is kept alive by daily nourishment, by consistent action, by the small choices that move it forward even when progress is invisible. Many abandon their dreams not because they are impossible, but because they lacked the discipline to guard them through the long seasons of waiting. Every farmer knows that a field does not bear fruit in one day. There are periods of sowing, of watering, of protecting the soil. The same patience is required for a dream. To be a guardian of your dream also means to protect it from your own inner enemies. Doubt, fear, hesitation, procrastination. These are thieves that live within you. They whisper, "That will not work," or "You are not ready." And if you listen, they steal the dream before it reaches maturity. Guardianship requires vigilance. You must notice when these thieves approach, and instead of giving them authority, you must return to action, return to discipline. return to presence. The battle for your dream is not always outside of you, often it is within. Consider the image of a flame in the dark. A single gust of wind could extinguish it. The guardian places their hands around the flame, not to smother it, but to shield it until it grows strong enough to withstand the air on its own. Your dream is that flame. In its early stage, it needs your protection. It needs you to speak carefully to yourself, to choose carefully who you share it with, to act consistently in feeding it. If you neglect the flame, it fades. If you protect it, it becomes a fire that no storm can easily put out. Guardianship does not mean hiding your dream forever. It means knowing the right time to reveal it. Just as a farmer does not dig up the seed each day to check if it is growing, you must allow your dream the quiet space to develop. Some share their dream too early and expose it to criticism before it has roots. Some keep their dream too hidden and never give it the chance to see the light. Guardianship is wisdom, knowing when to shield and when to allow growth. It is important to remember that not everyone can see your dream as clearly as you do. Their vision is limited by their own fears, their own doubts, their own failures. If they cannot see themselves achieving something, they may tell you that you cannot either. This is why your dream must not depend on the approval of others. Guardianship means carrying the dream even when no one else believes in it. Especially then, your care for it matters most. A dream is not only a personal wish, it is also a responsibility. What you dream of is connected to what you are meant to contribute. If you abandon it, the world loses something it could have received through you. Guardianship is not selfishness, it is service. It is recognizing that your dream, once realized, will not only change your own life but may also inspire, guide, or help others. To protect it, therefore, is to honor both yourself and those who may one day be touched by it. There is also the danger of distraction. Many dreams are lost not because of open opposition, but because of small distractions that pull attention away. The dream requires focus, but the world offers countless diversions. Guardianship means learning to say no, learning to resist the constant pull of what is easy, comfortable, or immediately rewarding. The dream asks for patience, for sacrifice, for long-term devotion. Without this, the flame weakens. Guardianship is not a passive act. It requires courage. It requires persistence when progress is invisible, resilience when setbacks arrive, and trust when the path ahead is uncertain. To be a guardian of your dream is to commit yourself to its life again and again, even when others abandon theirs, even when the voice of doubt rises, even when the road seems endless.